Most people tell you that building a homestead in your 60s requires a lot of detailed planning.
Honestly, we got lucky. We did almost everything wrong. We followed the wrong search terms. We moved to one of the colder places in the U.S., and we arrived right at the end of a pandemic.
But our lucky mistakes turned out to be the ultimate blueprint for senior homesteading. What saved us wasn't a real estate blog. It was a sign for fresh donuts. We'll get to that in just a bit, but for now, let's turn our mistakes into your plan.
We started like everyone else does, doing a search for unrestricted lands. And if you're over 55 and you're searching for unrestricted lands, you're likely to end up in a trap. Most people our age are searching for freedom. They forget survivability.
We almost made a $25,000 mistake looking for that dream instead of the reality. We didn't realize that unrestricted also means unsupported, remote.
You may have seen the YouTube videos of people paying next to nothing for their parcel of land, only to have to use boats or ATVs, snowmobiles to access their land.
Yeah.
When we stumbled into St. Lawrence County, New York, only later did we realize we found the Goldilocks zone. Yay! Reasonable taxes, $25 building permits, few to no inspections, and a medical safety net we didn't even think to check for.
We just knew we loved the area. When we first drove up here and we saw the dairy farms everywhere, rolling countryside, just absolutely beautiful. It's rural, small towns.
We didn't check the distance to the nearest hospital before we bought. We just liked the trees, the forest acreage.
The creek, yeah.
Oh, the creek.
Yep, the creek.
Chloe's Creek.
Yep.
And we got lucky. We ended up being closer to the trauma center than we thought we would.
About 20 minutes away.
Yep.
As the saying goes in the real estate business, location, location, location. We'll refer to it as the Goldilocks zone. That region between too close and too far away from everything. And it could save you one day.
Yeah, we have a fire department just in the corner.
Yep.
So we should be good.
Now, use a map like this one to make sure your seclusion isn't actually isolation.
We decided to move to this area so that we could be closer to the Canadian border and to my family.
Yep, and as it turns out, we're only an hour and a half drive away.
And of course, the price didn't hurt. Yay!
Yes. Yep. Now, we didn't realize that the cold weather is actually kind of like a filter. Yep. It keeps the land prices down and the crowds away. Yeah, you've got the largest state park in the country by size right over here. Then there's just this everywhere you look. Our beautiful rolling dairy farms. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And then you got days like today, too. There's transportation, free transportation here in most of these counties up here. They're rural, so they've got buses, small buses that'll go everywhere for you. So even if you're not able to drive, you can still get to where you need to be. Water wealth and low entry costs beat a sunny desert and no water every single time. Now, you can buy more solar panels. You can't buy more aquifer. Yeah, you can ask Val here. Back when I first started investigating and got excited about off-grid homesteading.
So when we started looking, we looked everywhere. West Virginia, Tennessee, Montana, the usual suspects for off-grid living. But for a couple in their 60s on a fixed income, the dream destinations had become some harsh realities. In Alaska and British Columbia, the isolation is stunning, but the cost to haul in supplies, not so much. Plus the cold at our age, no, that's a hard pass. Tennessee and Idaho are beautiful, but they've been hit with a popularity tax. Land prices have skyrocketed, and local governments are tightening the leash with new restrictions. Not exactly the freedom we were looking for. In Montana, it's magnificent until you have an emergency. When you're miles from the nearest neighbor, let alone a hospital, remote takes on a whole new meaning. Then there's the Southwest. Hot, dry, no water. Hauling in every drop you drink gets expensive and exhausting fast. We realized we needed more than just cheap land. We needed a system that accounted for our age, our budget, and our long-term health. And that's exactly what we found. Let's talk about the repeatable system that actually works.
Well, we basically found the middle path, that sweet spot that gives us the same freedoms as you'd get in Alaska, probably even more, but with a tractor supply and a hospital just a few miles away. And we got to know the tractor supply pretty well here.
Mm-hmm. Our own search began like everybody else's search usually does. Get on Google and search out cheap lands. There is a lot of it, just not where we wanted to move.
Yeah, but we didn't know that when we first started.
Well,
we were excited.
I did.
Yeah, well.
Especially at our ages. So we decided this might be the perfect opportunity to move beside my family or near. So we kept our search confined to the areas around the Canadian border.
The border region, yeah. Opposite Ottawa, which is where the Ottawa area is where most of them are. So, yeah, that was lucky accident number one. Yeah, selecting this area out of basically because our search went from looking for cheap land anywhere we could find it maybe, and finally deciding, well, maybe we'll just move so she can be close to her family. The decision to move close to her relatives changed where we were searching. Unfortunately, it didn't change how we were searching. We were still using cheap land, upstate New York. That wasn't going to get us very far. What we weren't thinking was we're 60 plus years old. We're not kids anymore. And we need to take that into consideration. But that wasn't even in the picture. We were
limited income.
We wanted to find a piece of cheap land, save as much money as we can, and then start building us a home on it. But that's not actually the cheapest way to do it.
No, it isn't.
No. During our search, happened to run across a local firm here. The fellow that owns and runs this business is the one that we spoke with, but he had a bunch of listings that fit our price point. So we didn't have to spend too much of that money that we were getting from the sale of our existing home at the time. And all of the land that we looked at that he had listed fell between, say, about $15,000 to $25,000. Well, once you walked in there, the first thing you did was step down into mud. They've all got places that you can build on, but the question is, do you want to live in a swamp or do you want a nice piece of property? Yeah. So we looked at 4 or 5 properties, and I was starting to get really anxious. We were starting to get a little desperate, worried, and we had this one piece of property. It already had culverts up at the road, which you'd have to have. It had some large culverts. The drive goes right over a creek down here, our little creek, and the culverts are nice big double 24-inch culverts down there. All of that would have cost us a lot of money out of our pockets to begin with to do. Get to the top, and there's a third open area, and that's where foundation was already sitting. Put a French drain all the way around it and under it. We'll use it as it is. And that saved us a ton of money.
And he put septic in it.
He already had a septic system in here. We didn't have to get any of that.
So dollars.
It was a lot of money he had put into this property. And for what we paid for it, we came out smelling like a rose.
Yeah.
You don't get as lucky as we do this many times in a row. And I still can't believe it all turned out the way it did.
So that's happy accident.
But yeah.
Number 2.
Looking at a piece of property that was worth, or that we didn't want to pay that much for. It was 2 to 3 times the amount of money that we wanted to pay.
Yes.
But as it turned out, we probably saved 2 to 3 times as much money.
If not more.
Not having to put in all of these features that we just mentioned.
Just the driveway alone would have been $40,000.
It was already there, everything done. And you don't think about that when you're buying a piece of property like that. But we would have never gotten into this house. We wouldn't have had this house dried in time. It would have been 2 years later before we'd gotten to the point we were able to get it to in 3 months of building.
So what I did was I looked at Holland, And I said, we're buying it. I looked at the realtor. I said, where do I sign?
That's why we're telling you this, though. Don't rely on luck. We had no plan, zero plan going into
But we were
this.
very lucky.
But we were very lucky. So we're turning our luck into your plan.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth thing I believe that we got lucky
Fourth?
on, the fourth thing where we got lucky was restrictions.
Yes,
Building
we didn't
permits.
know.
Well, we had spoken with the current landowner at the time and some other people, but we really didn't know exactly. We
didn't know exactly.
We knew that we could build and that we're not going to have too many restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. It just depends on where you may live in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And the rural areas, which is 99.999% of the state, don't have those restrictions. It's a township by township, village by village situation. So in our county, you've got maybe a few county restrictions, but it depends on the township you live in. We found this property, and it's in one of the least restricted, most easily managed situation that you could possibly ask for. I mean, you can go to Alaska, you can go anywhere you want, and you're not going to find it any easier than it is here, or cheaper, I think.
It's a little expensive, but hey.
Well, we had to get 2 permits to build our house our house here. One from actually building the house. The building permit was only $25. All we had to do was give them a drawing which showed the basic layout of the home. Didn't have to be precise.
It actually is precise.
We paid our $25 fee to get our building permit, and then we only had another permit, and that was for our solar system. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So we met all the requirements for our solar building permit. We built all the requirements for our actual building permit.
He did the visit.
Yep. He came up here a couple of times, and we got to know him real well. And here's the kicker. Everybody had been telling us what a horrible fellow this guy is, and all the as it turns out, he was probably one of our most valuable resources and ended up saving us thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
There was the fourth, I guess, lucky.
But accident.
That was not the best. I mean, the final luck that we had here was seeing a sign that said fresh donuts for sale.
Yeah, he loves his.
I love me some donuts now. And we had driven past this little sign on the road, donuts for sale or fresh donuts. And
so one day I said, well, you know what? Let's go.
We were out riding past it and decided, let's just go check out these donuts. We come up and I see the sign up ahead, donuts, etc., and a little Amish farm. Those donuts turned out to be the luckiest thing that happened to us. While we were there at this Amish farm getting our donuts, I looked down the hill a little bit and saw a sign that said lumber for sale. So I asked the fellow there, I said, well, let me ask you something. Can you cut me enough lumber to build my house? And he said, oh, yes, not a problem. He said, get me a list of what you need and I'll cut it for you. We can probably have it ready in about 3 weeks. So I looked at him and I said, well, all right. I'll bring you a list of everything we need. And if you can get me a price on it, I said, we'll do a deal. Well, I came back a little bit later on, I guess that day or the next day, had my printed list up. Basically, I used a list that the big box store had created for me. The number of pieces I needed, lengths, all the dimensions, etc. And I handed it to him. And he went in and he did him some calculations. He came out there and came back to me with a price. And what he quoted to me was $4,500 less than what the local stores, and he could get it all. We had been to the big box stores all around. I went to every single lumber yard and store getting quotes. As far as the lumber goes, I had gotten a quote for $11,000 or $12,000 for the framing lumber for this house.
Only.
They couldn't even supply all of it because of the pandemic. Well, the wood that he cut for me was probably some of the nicest stuff I'd ever seen. 3 weeks later, a truck comes driving up our driveway, pulling a big trailer, and out hop all these little Amish fellas,
Those kids.
all the little kids, and the fellow
They
that we
couldn't have
bought
been
it
like
from.
5 feet tall.
Oh, man, they were scrambling all over that trailer. They had that thing unstacked nice and neatly for me right where I wanted it, arranged. Best business deal I've ever done. And they are the ultimate off-grid authority.
Yes.
If you want to live off-grid, there's no better place to live than where there's an Amish community, because they're the ultimate off-gridders.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how to live off-grid, these are the people to go to. They can tell you what you need to do. They're more than willing to help you figure out what it is you need. If you're in an Amish community, you don't have to worry about grocery prices. You can get those organic stuff way, way cheaper than you can get it at the grocery store, and a lot fresher.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about ever running out of food. And they'll go out of their way to make sure you get what you pay for. Amish are probably the luckiest thing that we discovered. You couldn't ask for any better resource. What it amounts to is that donut sign saved us $4,500 up front, and it saved us probably thousands more ever since. If you need anything done, their typical rate, I think, is still $15 an hour per person. You can't get any kind of work done for that kind of money. When you're our age, you're going to need some help. You're going to need to have things done. And believe you me, all you got to do is stop by one of the Amish places and tell them what you need done, and they'll tell you when they can come by. So if you're looking for some place to live, and with the expertise of off-grid, plus the support system for off-grid, plus great food, plus great prices on all the labor that you might need done on your piece of property, you can't beat this. No. And they're not moving up here. They're not afraid of the cold. They plan for it just like you can plan for it. If you're thinking about living off-grid and finding a piece of property,
at our age,
quit thinking about cheap property. It's the wrong way to look at it.
Yep.
Look at what you're going to need. You're going to need nearby medical facilities, first of all. That's going to be a key factor. They've got some of the best medical facilities around. I got a cardiologist here, right here in town, 15 minutes away. My regular doctor's 15 minutes away. Everything I need is right here. St. Lawrence County just happens to be one of the cheapest places to purchase land right now. We realize that this luck that we've had is actually a repeatable system that you can use.
You don't have to be lucky. You just have to be intentional.
Oh, if you're over 55 and ready to start searching and start living, St. Lawrence County or places just like it are waiting for you. If any of you out there watching us now live near an Amish community, tell us about your experience with the Amish down here in the comments. As always, like and subscribe. It really helps our little channel grow, and it's been growing pretty decently recently.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.